Behind every financial decision you make, beneath every goal you chase or plan you carefully craft, there's a hidden force shaping the outcome. That force is your subconscious mind. Most people think of the subconscious as a vague, mysterious place, a vault of dreams and childhood memories. But neuroscience paints a much clearer picture. Your subconscious is not passive. It's the invisible architect of your life. It's not just storing your past. It's actively scripting your present. It controls nearly everything: what you believe is possible, what you feel safe doing, how you react to opportunity, what you allow yourself to receive, and most importantly, what you unconsciously reject. You may think you're making conscious choices about money, but behind the curtain, the real script is being executed by old, unexamined patterns. These patterns aren't random. They're programmed, most of them long before you had a choice. Think back. Was money a source of tension in your home? Did you hear phrases like, "We can't afford that," or "Money doesn't grow on trees"? Did success feel dangerous, selfish, or out of reach? Those moments didn't just pass. They etched themselves into your nervous system. They became what psychologists call money scripts, emotional imprints that quietly shape how you save, spend, earn, invest, or avoid money altogether. Maybe today you consciously desire abundance, yet you hold back from raising your rates. You feel anxious asking to be paid more. You sabotage progress as soon as success gets close. Why? Because somewhere in the subconscious, an old code is still running. Money causes conflict. Success makes me unsafe. Having more means betraying where I came from. This is not self-sabotage, it's self-protection, according to a blueprint that was installed years ago. Here's what neuroscience tells us. The brain isn't just processing your external world. It's filtering reality based on the beliefs you already hold. The Reticular Activating System, a tiny network in your brainstem, acts like a gatekeeper. It decides which information reaches your conscious mind. If your subconscious believes prosperity isn't for you, the RAS will literally blind you to opportunities that could change your life, even if they're right in front of you. This is why two people can walk into the same room. One spots a new connection, a path forward, a spark of possibility. The other sees obstacles, doubts, and reasons to play small. Same room, different filter, different architect. The subconscious doesn't just respond to life, it constructs the version of life you perceive. Here's what that means for you. If you want to shift your outer reality, you can't just work harder. You have to start where the power actually is, beneath the surface. You have to start with the code, and that begins with a single act, recognizing the script that's been running the show. Because until you see it, you can't rewrite it. Until you name it, it remains in control. So now, let's take this from theory to practice, right now, right here in your own life. Take a pause. Think back to your childhood. What is your strongest memory involving money? Was it a moment of fear, shame, excitement, need, or celebration? What did that moment teach you, without words? What belief did it silently install? Now name that belief. This is your financial script, and this awareness is your first step toward rewriting it. Because you are no longer a child repeating the past. You are the observer now, and observers collapse reality. Now let's delve into a very important topic. How does your subconscious choose your reality? How does the reticular alarm system filter wealth opportunities? Let us go deeper into the architecture of your inner world. By now, you understand that your subconscious mind is not just a passive container of memories. It is an active force, constantly running deeply embedded scripts shaped by emotional imprints from your past. But how exactly do these hidden patterns create the reality you are experiencing today? The answer lies not in mystical abstraction, but in neuroscience. It all comes down to this. Your subconscious filters your attention. At any given moment, your brain is being flooded with an overwhelming amount of information, more than 11 million bits per second. These come in the form of sounds, sights, textures, movements, smells, symbols, suggestions, and sensations. Yet your conscious mind, the part you identify with, the part that thinks in words, can only process a mere 50 bits of that enormous data stream. So how does your mind decide what to focus on? The key lies in a small but powerful mechanism located in your brainstem. It is called the Reticular Activating System, often referred to as the RAS. This neural network functions like a gatekeeper, a filter, or even a personal bouncer standing at the threshold of your conscious awareness. The RAS does not make decisions on its own. It receives instructions directly from your subconscious programming. It lets in the signals that feel familiar, safe, or aligned with your inner beliefs, and it blocks out anything that feels irrelevant, threatening, or unknown. This is not a metaphor, it is how your brain physically operates, so let us bring this to the realm of your financial reality. If, deep within, your subconscious holds the belief that wealth is unsafe, unreachable, corrupting, or simply not meant for someone like you, then your reticular activating system will literally screen out the opportunities, people, and ideas that could lead you toward prosperity. Not because those opportunities are not real, not because the abundance is not there, but because it does not feel familiar or emotionally safe to allow them into your field of awareness. You will walk through the world with blinders on and not even know you're wearing them. Picture this. You are walking through a crowded marketplace. All around you are colorful stalls, voices calling out, signs offering discounts, aromas pulling your senses in every direction. But you do not see all of it. Your attention moves only toward the things your subconscious is already tuned into. You suddenly spot a book you were thinking about the night before. You overhear someone say a sentence that strangely echoes a conversation you had with yourself earlier that morning. You walk past 10 vendors, but for some reason, only one of them calls your name. That is not coincidence. That is programming. Now, imagine something even more powerful. What would happen if your subconscious was not tuned to scarcity, but to abundance? If it was not aligned with survival, but with expansion, joy, and receptivity, how differently would you walk through that same marketplace? What possibilities would suddenly stand out to you? Opportunities that had always been there, but were hidden behind the lens of fear, doubt, or old inherited beliefs. This is why certain people seem to always be in the right place at the right time. It is not that they are lucky. It is that their RAS is attuned to receiving. Their internal filters are set to expect alignment, to expect expansion. So when opportunity shows up, they recognize it. They lean toward it. They respond. Others remain stuck. Not because they are lazy, not because they are flawed, but because their internal navigation system is still locked onto lack and limitation. Your brain is not a camera simply recording external events. It is a sculptor, constantly shaping your reality based on what your subconscious tells it to prioritize. So if you want to shift your financial experience, you do not need to change the entire world around you. You need to change what you notice. You need to become available for what you were previously blind to. And that starts with a single conscious decision, to program your reticular activating system with a new intention. You give your brain something new to track, a new signal to tune into, a new set of filters through which to perceive your world. So let us begin now. Take a moment to choose a very specific financial intention. Do not make it vague. Let it be emotionally real. It might be something like, I am ready to attract one aligned client this week. I am open to receiving unexpected income today. I am now willing to be paid abundantly for the value I offer. Now write down 3 signs, however subtle, that would serve as evidence that this intention is already unfolding. These signs could be small and quiet, a friend mentioning an opportunity out of the blue, a wave of calm washing over you when you check your bank account, an unexpected message in your inbox from someone who had once gone silent. These do not need to be grand manifestations. They only need to feel like resonance, like confirmation that your signal is being received. Today, walk through your life as if you were in that marketplace. Keep your eyes soft. Keep your mind open. Let your field tune in. You are training your brain to see what your old self overlooked, and in doing so, you begin shifting not only your focus, but the very world you live in. Because the moment your perception changes, reality cannot help but rearrange itself around your new signal. And to leap into a new reality, we need to answer one question. How do childhood beliefs still shape your finances? You weren't born with beliefs about money. You didn't arrive in this world thinking money is hard to earn, or rich people are greedy, or I don't deserve to have more than others. Those beliefs were installed, not with your permission, but through repetition, emotion, and the authority of those around you. This is how money scripts are formed. They're not logical. They're emotional. They're written not with facts, but with feelings. A slammed door after a fight about bills, the silence at the dinner table when rent was overdue, the praise you received for not asking too much, the fear in your mother's eyes when something broke and there wasn't enough. Each of those moments etched something into your nervous system, and that imprint became a script, a background program that still runs today. You might not remember the exact words, but your subconscious remembers the message, don't ask for too much. Money creates conflict. We always make do with little. Rich people are selfish. Wanting more makes you greedy. Hard work is the only way to be worthy. And the most dangerous thing about these beliefs, they don't feel like beliefs. They feel like truth. You grow up, you try to break patterns, you visualize abundance. But somehow, the same outcomes repeat themselves. Why? Because the subconscious always protects the script, even if it hurts you. One person avoids looking at their bank account, not because they're lazy, but because money has always been a source of shame. Another hustles endlessly, chasing success that never satisfies. Because deep down they believe their worth depends on proving they're not a failure. And others earn well, but spend impulsively, lose it all, or give it away, because their subconscious doesn't feel safe holding prosperity. These behaviors aren't random. They're loyal responses to emotional conditioning. Let's go deeper. Many of these scripts weren't even born from your experience. They're inherited, passed down like emotional DNA. Science now confirms this. Epigenetics shows us that trauma can alter gene expression and be transmitted across generations. Somatic research reveals that the body remembers what the mind forgets. Psychology tells us that family dynamics, spoken or unspoken, form the blueprint of identity. So when you feel blocked with money, you might not be failing. You might just be carrying a script that was never yours to begin with. You were born to write your own story, but you've been reciting someone else's lines. And until you become conscious of those lines, you will keep playing out a character you never chose. Let's make this real. Do you ever feel guilty when things start going well for you? Do you hesitate to charge your worth, as if it's somehow wrong to receive more than others? Do you avoid financial planning, not because you don't care, but because it triggers discomfort, anxiety, or shame? These are the fingerprints of a hidden script. It's not just a mindset, it's a pattern that lives in the body. It's the weight that keeps you from rising. And just like in ancient Egyptian mythology, where the soul was weighed against a feather to determine its readiness for eternity, your path to prosperity also requires lightness, because you can't carry inherited guilt and expect to rise into freedom. You can't hold shame in one hand and receive abundance with the other. You must release the heaviness before the door will open. But here's the good news. Awareness begins the rewiring. Observation breaks the loop. When you see the script, you reclaim your authorship. You're no longer the actor, you become the writer. Neuroscientist Bruce Lipton reminds us, the subconscious is not hardwired, it's programmable. But it doesn't change with logic. It changes with repetition, emotion, and conscious choice. And that starts with naming what's been unnamed. Pause for a moment. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe. Now ask yourself, what belief about money feels heavier than it should? What story plays in your mind when you think about raising your prices, receiving more than others, or thriving while your family struggles? Does it whisper guilt? Does it bring fear? Does it make you want to hide? Now ask, where did this belief come from? Was it your mother's story? Your father's struggle? A message absorbed in silence rather than words? Name the script, not to shame it, but to set it free. Because what you can name, you can change, and what you bring into awareness begins to lose its grip. This is not betrayal. This is liberation. You are not here to repeat your lineage. You are here to rewrite it. And every time you choose alignment over guilt, clarity over confusion, truth over trauma, the weight lifts, the page turns, and your story begins to sound like you. And when identity collapses a new reality, The quantum leap happens. Most people think change happens gradually, step by step, brick by brick, effort over time. But deep change, the kind that transforms your entire reality, doesn't always follow a linear path. Sometimes it happens all at once. A moment, a decision, a shift in identity so powerful that everything around you begins to rearrange. This is what we call a quantum leap. The term comes from physics, where subatomic particles jump from one energy state to another without passing through the in-between. It's not metaphor, it's science. And in your life, this concept carries extraordinary meaning. Because just like those particles, you don't have to move inch by inch from scarcity to prosperity. You don't have to wait 10 years to become the version of yourself you know you're meant to be. There is a moment, an inner collapse where the code changes, and when that happens, reality follows. But how? It begins with this truth. You don't experience reality directly. You experience what your subconscious allows you to perceive. And the subconscious doesn't respond to goals. It responds to identity. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you are. If you still see yourself as someone who struggles, who lacks, who is behind or small or unworthy, then even when opportunities appear, you won't claim them. Even when success knocks, you won't answer. Because deep down, you're still the version of you who isn't ready. Here's the paradox. You'll never feel ready until you decide you already are. That's the leap. Not the one where the world changes, the one where you change, instantly, internally, irreversibly. And from that shift, the rest has no choice but to catch up. Let's make this real. Imagine two people. Both receive a chance to pitch a project. The first person hesitates, second-guesses, underprices, and downplays their vision. The second walks in with clarity, ownership, calm authority. Same project, same opportunity, different identity. Guess which one reality responds to? This isn't about arrogance, it's about coherence, because when your thoughts, emotions, and actions align with a prosperous self-image, you collapse the probabilities of success into form. You're not wishing, you're observing with certainty. And in quantum theory, observation is creation. You're no longer looking at the timeline where you struggle. You're living from the one where abundance already exists. Neville Goddard called this living in the end. You don't wait to become. You embody the future version now through feeling, imagination, and action. Neuroscience supports this. When you vividly imagine an action, your brain fires the same neurons as if you were physically doing it. It doesn't distinguish between rehearsal and reality. So when you rehearse confidence, prosperity, expansion, you are literally building the neurological structure of that future self. The subconscious begins to adopt it. And once adopted, the world bends to match. This is how quantum leaps happen, not by chance, by choice. The choice to stop negotiating with the old identity. The choice to stop acting from the wounds of yesterday. The choice to inhabit the version of you that prosperity has been waiting for. And yes, there will be resistance. The old self will beg to stay. It will whisper, "Who do you think you are?" It will pull you back to safety, to familiar pain, to roles you've outgrown. But remember this, the leap always feels impossible until it becomes inevitable. There's no in-between, there's only before and after. And the moment you collapse into the new version of you, everything else begins to mirror that shift. People treat you differently. You speak with more authority. You make choices faster. Opportunities appear that had always been there, but now you finally say yes. This is not magic. This is identity in motion, and it's available to you now. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Now picture yourself 1 year from today, living in the reality you've always wanted. You are calm, you are confident, you are surrounded by abundance. Feel your voice, strong, clear. Feel your posture, grounded, open. Feel the ease in your body. No more shrinking, no more hiding. Now ask yourself, how does this version of me think? Speak, walk, decide. Feel it for just 1 minute, fully, vividly, as if it were already true. Because in the realm of your subconscious, it already is. The leap doesn't begin when something out there changes. It begins the moment you decide, completely, deeply, finally, to be someone new. And that version of you, is already waiting. And to become prosperous, is there an identity shift technique? Behind every decision you make, there's a quiet question being asked by your subconscious. Is this consistent with who I believe I am? If the answer is yes, you'll move forward with ease. If the answer is no, even if the action would benefit you, you'll hesitate, self-sabotage, or simply forget to act. This is the power of identity. It is the invisible container that holds everything else. It defines what you allow, what you attract, what you resist, and what you repeat. And until you change the container, no amount of willpower will truly last. Let's make this real. You can repeat affirmations, you can write goals, you can create vision boards, but if your subconscious still sees you as the one who struggles, or the one who always gets close but never breaks through, then everything you try will be filtered through that old script. Why? Because the subconscious isn't driven by what you say. It's driven by what you embody, and it will fight to keep your behaviors aligned with the identity it believes is true. Tony Robbins says, "The strongest force in the human personality is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. So if you define yourself as not good with money, you'll unconsciously reject wealth because it doesn't fit your self-image. If you see yourself as a helper who never charges much, you'll lower your prices even when you need more, not because you want to struggle, but because abundance feels like a betrayal of who you've been." But here's the key. You don't have to earn a new identity. You have to choose it right now and then reinforce it, again and again, until your nervous system accepts it as familiar. This is the identity shift technique. Not a wish, not a mask. A daily decision to think, feel, speak, and act as the version of you who already lives in the reality you want. Let's go deeper. Neville Goddard called this living from the end. You don't visualize what you want. You imagine the version of you who already has it, not just what they do, but how they feel, how they carry themselves, how they speak, how they handle decisions. When you do this vividly and consistently, something extraordinary happens. Your subconscious begins to recalibrate. Neuroscience calls this neural rehearsal. Your brain doesn't wait for external proof. It begins to wire new circuits based on what you imagine repeatedly with emotion. This is not pretending. This is training. Training your nervous system to accept a new baseline of being. Just like a musician rehearses a piece until it becomes automatic, you rehearse identity until abundance becomes your default posture. Let's illustrate this. One person says, "I'm trying to be successful." Another says, "I am someone who creates success." One is striving, the other is embodying. Even if both are still learning, still growing, the second will act, speak, and choose from a very different energy. And that energy is what life responds to. So if you felt stuck, maybe it's not because you're doing it wrong, maybe it's because you're doing the right things, but from the wrong self. Remember, behavior follows identity. Always. And once your subconscious accepts a new identity, your actions begin to align without resistance. You stop negotiating. You stop asking for permission. You simply live as the one who already knows. That's when things start to move. Suddenly you're taking the opportunities you used to doubt. You're speaking clearly where you used to shrink. You're raising your standards, not to impress anyone, but because the old version of you simply doesn't fit anymore. And yes, at first it feels awkward, because the subconscious craves stability, even if that stability is painful. But as you reinforce the new identity, neural pathways begin to shift. The old circuits weaken, the new ones grow stronger. It's like shedding an old skin. Uncomfortable, necessary, freeing, and one day, without effort, you wake up and realize that prosperity isn't something you're chasing anymore. It's something you've become. Now, let's put it into practice. Grab a pen. Complete this sentence. I am the kind of person who... Finish it with traits, habits, thoughts, and feelings that your abundant self would naturally have. Example, I am the kind of person who makes clear decisions. I am the kind of person who attracts aligned clients with ease. I am the kind of person who expects and receives financial flow. Now read it aloud, slowly, with feeling. Let your voice carry the truth, before your mind fully believes it. Repeat this daily, because the subconscious doesn't obey one-time commands. It obeys repetition, plus emotion, plus identity. And if you keep affirming the self you choose sooner than you think, that's who you'll become. Now we need to rewire synapses and become aware of how the brain and prosperity connect. Your brain is not fixed. It's not a machine you're stuck with. It's not the sum of your genetics or the stories you were told. It's a living field of possibility, rewiring itself moment by moment, based on how you think, feel, imagine, and act. This is the miracle of neuroplasticity, and it's the reason you are never truly stuck. You may have inherited beliefs, you may have absorbed scarcity, you may have spent years repeating survival patterns, but none of those are permanent, because neurons that fire together wire together, and neurons that stop firing together disconnect. That's how you reprogram your subconscious, not just with thoughts, but with state, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. Let's go deeper. The subconscious doesn't speak in words, it speaks in patterns, in chemistry, in energy, in familiarity. If stress is your most familiar emotion, then your body will cling to it, even in success. If guilt is your baseline, you'll sabotage the moment you start to feel free. This isn't weakness, it's wiring. But here's the power: you can rewire it, and you don't need a lifetime to do it. Just consistent access to two forces: repetition, emotion. This is what creates long-term potentiation, the scientific term for strengthening a neural pathway. Every time you feel something deeply, and pair it with a clear image or belief, you're etching it into your nervous system. So when you visualize abundance but feel fear, you're rehearsing fear. When you say, "I am wealthy," but feel lack, you're reinforcing contradiction. That's why state comes first. If you want to rewire prosperity into your brain, you have to teach your body how it feels to be safe, expanded, supported. Not later, now. Because the subconscious lives in the present moment only. It doesn't understand "I'll be abundant next year." It understands what you feel now. That's where breath comes in. That's where posture comes in. That's where ritual comes in. Because when you activate a new state deliberately, you override the old ones. You teach your brain, this is the new normal. You shift your baseline, and that shift is not subtle. Your prefrontal cortex begins to light up with clarity. Your limbic system calms. Your heart rate stabilizes. Your biochemistry moves from cortisol to dopamine and serotonin. You're no longer in survival. You're in creation. And the more time you spend in that state, the more your subconscious accepts prosperity as safe. That's the key most people miss. They try to manifest from desperation. They visualize with tension. They hope for wealth while staying in a chemical storm of fear. But your nervous system doesn't lie. It only allows in what it believes is safe to experience. So if you want to rewire your brain for prosperity, you must make abundance feel familiar. Let it feel like home. How? Practice it daily, like a musician rehearsing a song. Even if your external world hasn't changed yet, the internal repetition is already planting seeds, and soon those seeds bloom outward. Here's what happens as you continue. You naturally think bigger. You make decisions from calm, not chaos. You stop chasing and start allowing. You attract people and events that match your new inner signal. This is not luck. This is biology, directed by conscious intention. You're not forcing the mind. You're teaching it a new rhythm, and eventually, that rhythm becomes you. The most powerful version of yourself isn't buried in the future. It's wired into your body the moment you choose to activate it. And with every repetition, that choice becomes easier, faster, more automatic. Until one day, you don't have to remind yourself anymore. You just live it. Because your brain has become the very pattern of the life you once dreamed about. And now, it's simply who you are. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Stand or sit with dignity. Take slow, intentional breaths. Feel the air expand your chest. Relax your jaw. Drop your shoulders. Now speak one phrase aloud. I am safe in prosperity. Repeat it slowly, with emotion. Let each repetition sink in. Imagine golden light moving through your nervous system, rewiring, softening, awakening. Let this be your new normal. Just 3 minutes, every day, because the brain doesn't change by information alone, it changes by experience, and prosperity is a state your body must learn to trust before it can fully arrive. For this, we need daily rituals to anchor your prosperous identity. What if your daily routine was not just a repetition of habits, but a portal? A portal into the identity you are becoming, not the one you're escaping. You see, your subconscious does not change because you had a great idea once. It changes because you live that idea again and again in rhythm, in movement, in feeling. That's the power of ritual. Ritual is how the invisible becomes real. It's how identity crosses from the abstract into the embodied. And it's how you signal to the universe and to your nervous system that you're serious, not in striving, but in presence. Let's be clear, ritual is not superstition. It's neuroscience with soul. When you repeat a symbolic act with intention and emotion, your brain begins to rewire faster. Your body starts releasing old tension. Your field, the electromagnetic resonance of your being, becomes coherent. You're no longer just thinking prosperity. You're practicing it. You're becoming it. And the repetition is not a chore. It's an incantation, a sacred rhythm that tells your cells, this is who I am now. But here's where most people get lost. They complicate it. They try to do 10 things at once. They wait for a perfect moment, a perfect meditation, a perfect environment. Forget all that. The most powerful rituals are simple, repeatable, and emotionally alive. Let's explore a few. The first one you can do is the breathing ritual. Each morning, before the world touches you, you touch yourself, not with thoughts, but with breath. Close your eyes. Breathe in as if you're inhaling prosperity. Breathe out as if you're releasing every old identity of lack. Do this for just 2 minutes. Feel your nervous system say, I am not in survival anymore. Let this be your reset. Maintain a posture of prosperity. How does your future self sit, stand, walk? Mimic it now. Don't wait for confidence. Posture leads chemistry. Lift your chest. Elongate your spine. Hold your face as if you are already walking in answered prayer. The body believes what it repeats. So let it repeat a shape of abundance. Make a spoken declaration. Your voice is a tuning fork. Speak your truth aloud each day. I am the kind of person who creates and receives prosperity easily. Say it while moving. Say it while smiling. Say it like you mean it. Why? Because the subconscious trusts emotion over logic. When you speak it with your body, you're not convincing your brain, you're instructing it. You can also start a future journal. Once a week, write a page from your prosperous future self. Describe your day. What are you grateful for? Who are you helping? What problems have become irrelevant? This isn't fantasy, it's emotional rehearsal. And your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and memory when emotion is present. You're not escaping reality. You're informing it. Also do sacred visualization. Visualization only works when paired with state. So before you close your eyes, breathe deeply. Relax. Then picture a version of you at peace, in power, in purpose. Feel their heart. Borrow their certainty. Let that frequency drip into your own field. Stay there for 3 to 5 minutes. Let your subconscious memorize the vibration of what's coming. Increase music and movement in your ritual. Your nervous system is rhythm sensitive, so use it. Choose one song that activates your energy of prosperity. Play it. Move to it. Dance, stretch. Walk slowly but with purpose. Let the body move as if it's already home in abundance. You're not performing, you're reprogramming. None of these take more than 5 minutes, but their effect is quantum, because they are not just practices, they are portals. Each one dissolves the separation between who you are and who you're becoming. Each one carves a new groove into your brain, a new signal into your energy, a new shape into your soul. And when done daily, they don't just shift your mood, they shift your timeline, because the identity that is ritually embodied is the one the universe responds to. And that means every ritual becomes a vote for your prosperous self. Every repetition becomes a request for the future to arrive. So don't wait for transformation. Practice it. Let it be awkward. Let it be sacred. Let it be yours. Choose one of the rituals above. Just one. The one that calls to your heart the most. Commit to doing it for 7 days in a row, same time, same space, same emotion. Let this be your anchor, your personal portal, because repetition plus feeling results in embodiment. And embodiment is what makes prosperity permanent. And to make it permanent, we need to break out of addictive cycles. But how to break cycles of scarcity in real time? You're doing the work, you're visualizing, you're journaling, you're shifting your thoughts, expanding your identity, reaching for something higher. And yet, something small happens. An unexpected bill arrives. A message triggers a familiar rejection. You feel a wave of anxiety in your chest, a tightness in your stomach, a story from the past rising like a storm, and just like that, you're back in the loop. The same cycle, the same downward spiral, the same voice inside whispering lies with a tone that sounds like truth. I knew it wouldn't last. I'm not ready. It's always like this. Maybe I'm just not meant for more. But here's what I need you to understand. That voice is not you. It's a pattern, an old echo, a script running deep in the background of your nervous system. A story your body memorized when it didn't know how to feel safe with change. Because to a subconscious trained by scarcity, expansion doesn't always feel exciting. It feels threatening. It feels unfamiliar. And the unfamiliar feels unsafe. So when something triggers your nervous system, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, your body reacts the same way. Contracting, withdrawing, defaulting back to old reactions for the sake of emotional survival. But you're not here to survive anymore. You're here to awaken, to respond, to choose. That's what separates the loop from the breakthrough, the ability to stay conscious within the moment. So how does the loop begin? It always starts in the body, before the thought, before the story, before the sabotage. It begins with a sensation, a clench in your stomach, a racing heart, a shallowing of breath, a heat rushing to your chest. That is the moment. That's the fork in the road. In that space, however brief, lies your power. Because between trigger and reaction, there's a doorway. And when you step through it, fully present, without judgment, you break the spell. You stop the loop, not with force, not with denial, but with awareness. You take a breath and you whisper within, "This is not truth, this is a loop." And just like that, the illusion begins to unravel. You are not trying to fix life in this moment. You are simply refusing to abandon yourself again. Maybe you just checked your bank account and felt fear rise in your throat. Maybe your launch flopped and shame crept in like fog. Maybe someone didn't respond, and the old rejection wound snapped awake. You can feel the loop coming alive. But this time, something inside you stays rooted. You remember, you are not the child who needed to be perfect to feel loved. You are not the teen who learned to equate value with performance. You are not the adult who needs approval to exist in peace. You are the witness. You are the responder. You are the one who breathes instead of runs. And in that breath, in that sacred pause, you make a choice your past self never knew was available. You choose not to spiral. You speak softly to your body. We are safe now. We are not in danger. We are just feeling unfamiliar freedom. And then you ask, what would my prosperous self do right now? You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to fake peace. You just need to stay and feel and decide. Even if it's the tiniest act of choosing again to walk, to write, to speak with love, you're breaking generations of programming. You're telling your subconscious, this level of calm is safe. This level of abundance is allowed. This level of self-trust is mine now. And something begins to shift. The nervous system recalibrates, the loop loses power, and you begin to anchor a new rhythm. Now when a challenge comes, you don't crumble. You don't shrink. You remain. With grace, with presence, with clarity. Because the greatest breakthrough is not that life suddenly becomes easy. It's that you don't disappear when it gets hard. You don't collapse into the old self. You stay. You breathe. You create a gap wide enough for choice to live. And that gap is where true prosperity begins. Not just prosperity in numbers, but prosperity in nervous system safety, in emotional maturity, in the quiet, knowing that nothing outside of you can steal the wealth you've cultivated within. This is how the future you has always lived. Not reactive, not panicked, not trapped in spirals, but present, observant, rooted in truth. That future you is now becoming your present. Close your eyes for a moment. Call up a situation where your scarcity loop usually takes over. Maybe it's money, maybe it's rejection, maybe it's failure or abandonment. Feel the familiar sensations. Now, interrupt the loop. Say inwardly, "This is not truth. This is a pattern." Take a deep breath. Exhale slowly. Place your hand on your heart if you can. Then ask yourself, if I was already the version of me that abundance recognizes, what would I do next? Let this become your rehearsal, your somatic training, your inner blueprint, because next time that trigger comes, and it will, your body will remember, your heart will remember, and your soul will no longer run. You will remain. And in that sacred act of presence, you will rewire the world from within. You may have noticed that prosperity is an identity. We need to become the version that wealth recognizes. We often chase prosperity as if it lives somewhere outside of us. As if it's a goal on the horizon, a finish line we'll one day cross when we finally fix, achieve, or deserve enough. But prosperity is not a destination. It is not a reward for perfection. It is an identity. It's a frequency your being begins to embody, a way of standing, breathing, responding, a silent agreement between who you've been and who you're now choosing to become. Because here's the secret most never learn. Prosperity doesn't come to you, it comes through you. It enters where it recognizes itself. It follows identity, not effort. This is why some people seem to magnetize wealth without doing all the right things, because something in their self-concept already permits prosperity to belong, not from arrogance, not from ego, but from embodied permission, from the deep inner knowing. This is who I am now, and this version of me allows it. So let's ask the question, who are you becoming? Not in theory, not in your vision board, but in the quiet spaces of your day? When you wake up and the world hasn't yet approved of you, when no one is watching, and when you feel fear knocking softly at your door, what identity steps forward? Do you default to the old, the striving, the smallness, the proving? Or are you beginning to notice a new voice, subtle but rising, whispering, "I don't chase, I align. I don't prove, I allow. I don't fear wealth, I hold it. I don't shrink, I expand." The you that prosperity recognizes is not just thinking new thoughts, it is living a new frequency. This version of you doesn't need to force reality to bend, because reality already begins responding differently to who you are being. You walk into a room, and people feel something shifted. You speak less, but your words carry more resonance. You make decisions faster, because clarity is no longer rented. It's owned. This is identity-level transformation. Not just rewiring beliefs, but dissolving the old self entirely. You're not just painting over cracked foundations. You're building something sacred from the roots. And in this identity, prosperity is not occasional. It's not conditional. It's consistent. Because you're no longer negotiating your worth. You no longer ask, "Am I allowed to have this?" You declare, "This is aligned with who I am." But let's be honest, this is not always easy. There will be days when your nervous system screams for the familiar, when your old self fights to come back into power, when the world mirrors back the past to test your anchor. In those moments, don't panic. Don't collapse. Pause. Remember that prosperity isn't just about what you're receiving. It's about who you're becoming while you wait. It's about holding the line, in stillness, in faith, in dignity, even before the external shifts. Because the truth is, your life already responds to your identity. It always has. And when you shift the source code of who you are, when you stop identifying with lack, with wounds, with stories of being almost enough, the world reorganizes itself to mirror that shift. Suddenly, you're not seeking approval. You're embodying authority. You're not waiting to be rescued. You're realizing you were the guide all along. You're not hoping for crumbs. You're becoming the one who creates the feast. You start to notice new people entering your life, mirrors of your rising self-worth. New opportunities finding their way to you, not as tests, but as reflections. New levels of calm, not because things got easier, but because you got deeper. And this is the moment the old identity starts to dissolve, not because you fought it, but because you finally outgrew it. You simply stopped feeding it, stopped living in its reactions, stopped believing its voice. And prosperity, that living field of abundance that exists all around you, finally had space to enter and stay, because now it recognizes you. Not the you who was trying, not the you who was proving, but the you who finally remembered, I am worthy now, I am enough now, I am safe now. And in that moment, life opens in ways you never imagined. Not just in your bank account, not just in your business, but in your breath, in your body, in the way you walk through the world with quiet sovereignty. You have become a match, not because you mastered manifestation techniques, but because you chose to remember the truth. You were always the one. You just had to become the version of yourself who could hold it. And now, you are. Close your eyes. Visualize your prosperous self, the version of you who lives with overflow, ease, and clarity. How do they speak? How do they handle challenges? How do they treat their body, their money, their time, their space? Now slowly breathe into that version. Let it move from imagination into integration. Today, make one small decision from that self. Speak one sentence from that self. Take one aligned action, however small, from that self. And let that be enough. Let that be the beginning. Let that be the new frequency that reality cannot ignore. Because now, you're no longer chasing wealth. You're becoming the one it recognizes, and that changes everything. Now let's move from transaction to transmission. What is the energy behind wealth creation? What if wealth was never meant to be something you earned? What if it was something you transmitted? Not a result, not a finish line, but a frequency you emit, something the universe recognizes. Not because of what you do, but because of the energy you carry when you do it. You see, most people live trapped in a transactional mindset. They move through life counting effort like coins. How many hours did I work? How many posts did I publish? How many clients did I close? And when the results don't arrive fast enough, they spiral, they push harder, they squeeze more, they run on fumes. But what they don't realize is this: the field doesn't respond to your hustle. It responds to your signal. It doesn't track your exhaustion, it tracks your essence. Because creation was never supposed to be a race. It was always supposed to be a transmission. You are not just a body moving through tasks. You are an emitter, a broadcaster of frequencies. And every thought you allow, every emotion you embody, every intention you breathe life into, is part of your signal. It's what you're sending into the quantum field and the invisible architecture of reality. So ask yourself now, what am I transmitting? When I create something, when I share a message, when I offer a service, am I transmitting fear? Am I transmitting pressure, scarcity, proving? Or am I transmitting overflow, alignment, service, gratitude? Because the energy behind the action is what becomes the outcome. This is why some people speak softly but move mountains, why some launch with ease and generate ripples of abundance. Why some say less but radiate presence so powerful that others lean in without understanding why. It's not manipulation, it's resonance, and resonance cannot be faked. It must be lived. So the real work is not in chasing results, it's in calibrating your signal. Before you write the post, before you make the offer, before you walk into the room, you pause, you breathe, you check your field. Am I in truth? Am I in service? Am I in alignment with who I really am? Because when you are, Your words land. Your energy opens doors. The field begins organizing around your clarity. No more noise, no more confusion, just clear transmission. This is the end of transaction. This is the beginning of transmission. When you live like this, you stop chasing clients. They feel your frequency and come. You stop begging life to support you. It begins echoing your stability. You stop marketing your wounds and start sharing your overflow. It's not about perfection, it's about coherence. Are you one with the energy you wish to receive? Because if you desire to be paid in freedom, you must work in freedom. If you desire to receive with peace, you must create from peace. If you desire to manifest from love, you must become love in motion. It is never about doing more. It is about becoming clearer. Clear in who you are, clear in why you move, clear in what you're here to transmit. And the moment you choose to move from this place, you step into the quantum flow, where synchronicities become normal, where divine timing feels like breathing, where money becomes a mirror, not of your effort, but of your essence. You stop living in survival. You begin living in signal. You stop chasing the algorithm. You become the algorithm. You stop waiting for permission. You become the voice that grants it. This is your remembering. You were never meant to be a laborer in someone else's system. You were born a transmitter of new realities, a living bridge between what has been and what is now possible. So now, as this journey closes and your next chapter opens, let me ask you one final question. What will you transmit into the field today? Not to get something, not to prove something, but simply because you are finally aligned with who you really are. Take this breath. Anchor this energy. Let this be the day you stop negotiating with lack. Let this be the day you stop asking permission to live in overflow. Because the field is listening, and it's not waiting for more effort. It's waiting for a cleaner signal. You are that signal now. Before you act, post, sell, or speak today, pause. Feel into your body. Check your signal. And whisper inwardly, I no longer move from lack. I no longer transmit from scarcity. I am not a transaction. I am a transmission. Let this phrase become your calibration. Say it softly, say it often. Say it until the field can't help but rearrange itself in your favor, not because you earned it, but because you remembered. You are it. So now we arrive here, not at the end of a video, but at the beginning of something new, a version of you that no longer waits, no longer begs, no longer hides behind the stories that were never yours. You have walked through the architecture of your subconscious. You have met the false programs. You have remembered your truth. And now you know prosperity was never a reward for struggle. It was a reflection of your signal, of your identity, of your frequency. You are not broken. You are broadcasting. And the field has always been listening. So let this be the day you choose to align, to transmit, to embody, to walk as the one who no longer hopes for transformation, but becomes it. And if this transmission touched something in you, if something shifted quietly inside your chest, if you felt seen, remembered, reawakened, then this space was created for you. This is not just a channel, it is a field, a sanctuary for those who are ready to live, build, create, and receive from a deeper signal. And now I invite you, leave a comment below, not just to engage, but to anchor your frequency. Declare the new identity you're stepping into. Name the old story you're ready to dissolve, or simply say, I am the signal now. Subscribe if you want to keep walking this journey, one transmission at a time. And if your soul whispered, someone I love needs this, share it. Be the signal in their field too, because this work is not just personal, it is planetary. And you are not just here to consume content, you are here to ripple, to rise, to recode the field with who you choose to be. And now, you are ready.